Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
If you like weird, spooky, and strange history, then I have the podcast for you. My name is Brenda, and I'm the host of Horrifying History. Are you into the dark side of history? Horrifying History tells you about the side of history that people don't normally talk about. We tell the tales of haunted places, infamous true crimes, the paranormal, and unsolved mysteries, and then we look to history to see where the truth actually lies. Want to get spooky with us? Get your Horrifying History fix by subscribing today on your favorite podcast provider or by going to our website at horrifyinghistory.podbean.com.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
We're back from our vacation, our hiatus.
You mean we have power back?
It took a force of nature to close down the Mountain Murder studio.
It's true. It's true. It truly took a phenomenon to stop us for this long.
Dylan, we've had so many folks reach out to check on us, make sure we are okay.
From around the world.
And you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We have been very fortunate. I mean, I'm not going to say we had a great time because our neighborhood is, I don't even know how to describe it, Dylan. It's chopped up.
It was, there's literally 75 trees down within a square two block of our house. Big trees.
That's not an exaggeration.
No.
I think when we say that, others look at us like, huh. But the main reason we chose this neighborhood was the old growth trees.
A bunch of oaks.
It's like a forest.
Yeah,
right?
and these aren't little scraggly, white pines. These are
200-year-old trees.
300-year-old oaks, 100 foot across, 75 foot tall. You can't even, 4 people can't get around the trunk of one.
No.
And these things went down like freaking dominoes.
Yeah, the root base is like 8 to 10 feet wide.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, flipped over. Like we have 4 or 5 in our backyard.
Our neighbor has 20 down on their property.
Yeah, they have quite a bit of property and just ripped up.
Yeah.
But we didn't have power for a week.
We did.
And I have to say, that was hard for me. I'm a big baby.
And but we have neighbors that had to flee in the middle of the storm because one of these large trees, crashed into their house. They had wind, rain, kids, and then all their stuff got wet after the fact. So we feel fortunate in that respect. Some people have lost property, lost lives. So I mean, it's
our hometown, Haywood County, North Carolina, completely devastated.
It's terrible.
As I'm sure many of you have seen, Asheville area, just all of Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Completely washed out.
It's like every town you can think of.
It's surreal.
Got wiped out. or got devastated or messed up.
And there are a lot of organizations out there that are helping folks, and I would encourage, if you have a few extra bucks, to send it up that way.
Well, I would also encourage you to look up the organization you're donating to and make sure the money's making it to the ground.
Haywood Christian Ministries actively serves a lot of folks in Haywood County, as well as Mountain Projects. That's a really great organization, and those funds do directly impact the community through Mountain Projects.
Yeah, those funds through organizations like that really
Beloved Asheville. Those folks are working hard to make sure people can get the supplies they need, as well as the Manna Food Bank of Asheville. That's another really good, reputable organization to donate to.
And people's been, where's the government and all blah this and that.
Fuck the government.
Look, if there is a group of people that can come together quickly and not only care for themselves, but protect themselves and everything that needs to be done, it's mountain folks.
It is mountain folks.
It really is.
Resilient.
Yep. It's not the first time
Hardworking.
that they've had to.
Kind.
They don't turn to the government very, instantly because they're used to doing it themselves.
That's who we are.
Just how it goes.
Anywho, I have some strong feelings about the government right now. This administration's some shit. Now, moving along, Dylan, let's give a big shout out to some folks who have kindly donated to the podcast. We had Judy.
Hey, Judy.
Over at patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. We had Nancy make a donation to our Venmo.
Thank you, Nancy.
And we want to give a big shout out to Brian and Santa. They made a huge contribution to the podcast.
They really did. Now, this is one of these, this early on, we had a benefactor, a Sunday, you know who you are, who helped us get the gear that we still use to this day. And Brian and Santa have actually beefed up the emergency preparedness of Mountain Murder Studio with an some amazing accoutrements.
So thank you so much. You guys mean the world to us.
Yes.
You're the best listeners. We really do.
They're awesome. Yes, they're awesome. That was only one of the positives of not having power and kind of having to, hang out with your neighbors and stuff, as we got to know Brian and Santa, our neighbors, a little better. And now they're our friends, and they'll never get rid of me.
They like the podcast.
So we love them. They're just cool
So,
people.
when people tell me they like the podcast, I automatically know they're awesome.
It means they're
'Cause,
smart.
what's not to like?
Oh my gosh, I've missed podcasting.
I know. You've just been champing at the bit waiting for that moment when you could get back on the microphone.
I've just been podcasting with Heather with no power mics.
Yeah, it's been great, guys.
She loves it.
Yeah. Dylan, are you ready to get into a case? We have a lot of ground to cover, and we have got much to make up for as we have missed the last couple of release dates with no power, sitting in the dark, couldn't podcast. So we got to play catch up.
Oh my gosh.
We got to bring the folks what they want.
Gosh.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's get into
ready. Let's go.
Katelin Michelle Akens was born on September 2nd, 1996 in Indiana to parents Lisa Sullivan and Jason Akens. Akens' biological father left when she was a toddler, so Lisa raised Katelin and her sister Gabriella, known as Gabby. The family moved to Virginia just outside Washington, D.C. Growing up, Katelin was described as very nurturing. She was a caregiver to younger children, like especially her little sister, and very loving. From the start, Katelin was unique. She had no qualms about, being herself, something her family greatly appreciated about her. When Katelin was 7 years old, her mother Lisa married an insurance agent named James Branton. Branton was the only father figure Katelin and Gabby ever knew. Gabby said Branton and Katelin sometimes butted heads because he was a strict disciplinarian, something that Katelin was not accustomed to. So at times that relationship could be a bit strained. And I get that, Dylan. We are both step parents.
Yeah.
And having a child, I can see this from both sides because having been a child with a step parent, you're kind of like, who is this person? I didn't choose you to come into my life.
Right.
Who the fuck you supposed to be?
I didn't
telling
pick
me
you.
what's what, right?
Yeah, who you ain't my daddy.
You ain't my real daddy. Exactly. So I
But
can
I
understand growing up I had a step parent, so to speak.
So,
And at times I was just kind of like, who's this guy?
So you had I had step parent figures in my life, I will say. My mom was always there, but I guess, but I never had anybody to come in and wanted to be my daddy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know how some people go all in.
Well, I was going to say, and being a step parent to a stepchild, it can be tricky because as you're bringing this point up, Dylan, there's kind of this line of where do you go? Do you become the hands-on parent that wants to take an active role in the household?
Right.
Or do you kind of take a step back and let the biological parent do most of the heavy lifting and then you kind of just act as a support role?
There's so many gray areas of being of step parent, step children situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's awkward
You
kind of
see-
for everyone involved.
It is, but a lot of times you see really good relationships develop, and I think that's what you got to do. You let it organically develop. Like, let's say, I don't think if you come in demanding some other one else's child call you like mom or dad, like now if they come to you
And say, hey, I would like to call you.
say I would like to because I feel like you're my mom or dad. You know what I'm saying? That's a different story. It's just it's tricky.
It is a very tricky situation.
It's so many ins and outs. But I think it can be very good relationships, but it also can be very tough.
It can be. I mean, I'm not going to say I had the easiest time being a step parent.
Yeah.
I mean, I really tried to step up and do the right thing and make sure our children across the board felt like they were treated equally and the same. But I know that when it came to things like discipline or an issue, I might come to you and say, hey, I think you need to handle this.
Well,
Because
and-
I just didn't feel comfortable being like, that person.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to approach it. But you also see sometimes like the biological parents unwilling to relinquish any control of
Yes.
discipline at all to the step parent, which I think is very that's not very healthy as either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I don't know about how you feel, but I almost feel like maybe your time as a step parent was maybe a little easier. Like, I don't feel like you got a lot of pushback,
No.
you know?
Of course, I'm just, floating through life, man.
It's true.
No.
They're just like, oh, here's our stepbrother, Dylan. 'Cause you're like a big, dumb kid.
Yeah.
They're actually coming to me to complain like, Dylan did this.
Dylan ate my Oreos.
Dylan was looking at me. I'm not going to touch you. I'm not touching you. You know that little thing kids do in the backseat of the
Oh,
car?
yeah, where you hold your finger right by their face.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that you did to the kids.
I would do that. You
When I
were,
s-
you were doing that to me in the dark the other night. In the dark, folks.
Dude, my life is just centered around annoying the shit out of you.
I know.
Yeah.
I would go have a long day at my blue collar job, and I found out just a couple of weeks ago, my knees are really old.
Thank you.
I have a 100-year-old man's knees, and this is a very new development. It's kind of messing me up because I've always been a big strong guy.
Obvious arthritis.
Yeah, and known as the unit in some circles for many years
It's
now.
really small circle. The circle of one.
But I can't be the unit with knees like this, dude. Because
Maybe you need a knee replacement.
if I make a sudden move, man, it is
You can be like Lieutenant Dan and get some new legs.
He ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan. Oh yeah,
You get some John Travolta knees. You'll be out there dancing, cutting up a rug.
there's no way. I need ice and ibuprofen.
Ibuprofen.
All right, so yes, the ins and outs of step parenting. So I feel like, is that going to be a big part of this story?
Perhaps.
Okay.
But 6 years into the marriage, James and Lisa decided to part ways. They got a divorce. However, the family relationship seemed to almost improve with James no longer living in the household. The kids kept in friendly contact with him, and they often celebrated holidays, birthdays, Christmases. It wasn't like he left and they just never saw him again. Like,
What?
he was still, I guess you would consider, a part of the family and close with them.
And that's good because sometimes you do you have people break up, and then that person who's been in their life as a parental figure of sorts or a friend or however it was is just gone, and then all of a sudden those mom and dad or mom and stepdad or stepmom whatever hate each other, and they're never allowed to see that person again.
Now, it can be really tough.
Yeah, that's really hard
Because
on
the
children.
man who raised me, was in my life, was my step parent, was there for, a good 15 years of my life.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I haven't seen him in probably 20 years or spoken to him. Like, he just sort of is gone from my life. And it's kind of weird.
Yeah,
I mean, in the beginning, especially, because I'm like, what did I do?
right.
Like, I didn't break up with you. So yeah, it can be tricky. It can be tough. So one constant in Katelin's life was her best friend Amber Rios, who lived down the street from her in Spotsylvania County.
Spotsylvania.
Spotsylvania. County.
Damn.
When they were around 11 or 12, so they grew up together and they were besties. And it's always fun when you're a kid and you have a friend in the neighborhood. You have someone to play with, someone to hang out with, right? And they were just kind of like inseparable as children. But when they were about 11 or 12, Amber's family relocated across the country. They made a big move to Arizona, to Lake Havasu, which is kind of a resort area.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to party on Lake Havasu.
Really?
I think it's really fucking hot there, too.
What's in Arizona?
Like 100 degrees, you know, like on a cold day.
Oh, God. It's one of those warm lakes.
You know it is. And I cannot I'm very spoiled having grown up in the mountains of western North Carolina. I miss cold water, free-flowing, crisp, icy creeks.
Crystal clear.
Cold lakes.
God, the kind of water when you jump in, it takes your breath.
Yeah, and when you get out your pale, translucent skin, which I have, is blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your lip, that's literally true. It's that cold.
Any
you know, the little kids will have blue lips and
blue
fingertips.
Lips, but yes, absolutely.
And you'd be like,
their teeth are chattering.
Are you cold? And they're like, no.
I'm good.
I wanna
Yeah.
stay.
That's kind of how I am at the lake. You're like, it's time to go. And I'm like, I'm still floating. Yes. Daddy, don't make me leave. Yeah, so that's like the thing I miss the most about the mountains is like the cold water. But I hate a fucking warm lake. Like, there's nothing worse to me than visiting some place and it's hot as hell, and I say, let's go find some water to get in. And we go find a lake or a beach area at a lake, and then the water's fucking hot or like warm.
It's traumatic.
And you're like, what is this shit?
And now I know how flesh-eating bacteria grow.
Yeah, it's gross. I can't even do it. It's so gross. Anyway, moving along. So, you know, they moved over to Arizona, but the girls kept in touch. And eventually this friendship between these two best friends turned romantic. Why are you looking at me like that?
Well, that's not
What you looking at my gut for?
I'm not. I can't see it. That's not uncommon. But, you know, I think it's weird when besties hook up. Because,
you do?
well, you got that bestie relationship. And sometimes I feel like you might know more about your best friend than you do your partner.
Or are you saying that
There's more of an honest sharing amongst
that
best
it's
friends.
weird for us because you're my best friend?
Well, yeah, but that all happened at once. You know what I mean? We were lovers and friends, the first night.
Lovers and friends.
Yeah. That's right.
Are you gonna sing it for us?
No.
You do a really good usher.
Can't do it.
They call me USHERRAYMOND.
Now, baby, what you want to do?
Not
Got a
getting
brother feeling like Joe to see?
not getting a warm ass lake, I can tell you that. So yeah, this friendship eventually turned romantic. Lisa was supportive of her daughter's new love, and she really just wanted Katelin to be happy. I think what all parents want. You want your kids to be happy, and you want them to find a partner that is going to be good to them, good for them, loving, supportive, kind.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just even if you don't like your kid, you hope all those things happen for them.
Even if you don't like your kid.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, come on. I mean, some of us have had, some people don't like their kids. I mean,
You saying you don't like your kids?
no, I'm not saying that at all. I like my kids fine.
Okay.
Yeah, they're great.
You convinced me. Katelin was extremely smart and motivated. She rarely needed to study, but naturally made excellent grades and really excelled in school. Now, Dylan, I wish I had been that kid.
Yeah.
I was naturally like a C student, unless it was English or history. But
So-
everything else, I mean, if it was something I was interested in, I was a good student. Things I was not interested in, I was like a natural C student.
Well, and I think that's true for most of us. Now, you have some students that are just going to, do the work no matter what it is. And, they're really concerned about their GPA and their marks across the board. But I think that's typical for most. You had your favorite subjects, things you didn't like so much. You might not pay it as much attention.
I think there were some subjects I really didn't have to study, and I could just go take the test, ace it, do well. But just to be that like across the board must be nice.
Well, no, that's a lot of hard work.
They say, damn, it feels good to be a gangsta.
So people that do that or carry a 4.0 through like grade school and middle school and things like that, They're putting in a lot of work.
Katelin wasn't, though.
So
she never studied, and she just made straight A's and was like a really good student.
Well, then, okay.
Just naturally, she just like had that kind of photographic memory, I suppose. Now, by the time she was 16, Katelin had earned enough credits to graduate early from Caroline County High School. With Lisa's approval, Katelin went ahead, took that step to graduate early. You know, her mom was like wanting to make sure this was something she had considered, because at 16, I mean, you're still missing basically 2 years of high school.
Well, and a lot of the social aspects
Right.
and the big
Miss
things.
the prom, miss
Yeah.
homecoming, dances, football games. Are you sure you don't want to tough it out, stick around so you can have that high school experience? But Katelin assured her mom, nope, I'm good. I'm ready to graduate. So she was really proud of this accomplishment, and I can see why. I mean, it's pretty awesome to be 16 and you already have all the credits you need.
Yeah.
Now, graduation was an exciting time for Katelin. Recalled her sister Gabby. She remembered Katelin getting her cap and gown and just being so thrilled. This was like her big day. 10 days after turning 18, Katelin took a huge leap and moved to Lake Havasu, Arizona, to be closer to her girlfriend, Amber. Despite living thousands of miles away, Amber was in constant... Amber. I'm sorry. Katelin was in constant contact with her family. On an average day, she would phone her mom like 2 to 3 times and text often. If she couldn't get in touch with her mother right away, Katelin would call her sister or text her aunt asking, like, where's mom? Most of the time it's like, well, she's at work. And she'd be calling her mom at work. She would just call her over like little kind of day-to-day things.
Well, it's like she's really around. It's like she's not far away when you stay in contact that many times a day and you share every little thing that happens, during your day.
Yeah, she would call in just to check in kind of over small things, little day-to-day life questions, a lot of times related to domestic life. Like, how much laundry detergent do I use? And, just stuff like that. Katelin also remained very close with her sister, Gabby. They were like best friends and they told each other everything. So they were a really close family. At 19, Katelin made a decision to pursue a degree in cosmetology, which seemed like a natural fit for her. Katelin had her own personal style, which included colorful hair. It was green, purple, red, blue. She liked the rainbow colors. And she had multiple piercings and a few tattoos. Anytime a friend or relative had some kind of event or a date, Katelin would offer to style their hair. She enjoyed giving her friends makeovers, painting their nails. Her Aunt Pam said, quote, "It was a perfect calling because Katelin was so passionate about helping others and wanted to make them look their best and sort of be like their authentic self."
Well, I could see that being fulfilling kind of work or a job, being in beauty or cosmetology or something like that, because you really are making someone's special night even more special. You know what I mean? You're making them feel their best. Or maybe they've been...
Well, yeah, important events, weddings.
Yeah, it's a big
proms,
deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be so cool to have that talent to really help,
And I'm sure you can attest personally to how good it feels to go to the salon, or in your case, the barbershop, and you get that fresh cut. Yeah. You're just like... That's when I know you're like so happy because you come back from getting your hair did and you're just like glowing and you feel good. You feel fresh. You're like, oh, he trimmed my beard. Oh, he did my sideburns right. Oh, look at this fade. You're all happy.
I stand in the sunlight and just wait for you to notice.
You do.
Yeah, no, it just feels good. I like to be groomed, fresh. You might have that new fit, new underwear and socks if you're going out. And you can't tell me nothing when it's like that.
Your new underwear and socks, huh?
Yeah.
Just in case.
Well, no, there's nothing like fresh underwear and socks.
Just in case the magic happens.
No, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just thinking about it feels good.
You know what really feels good?
What?
We talked about this yesterday.
What's that?
Clean sheets.
Clean sheets.
I said to you, clean sheets are a poor man's luxury.
It's true. Nothing like a fresh bed.
Like, I change sheets all the time. Probably more than most people.
You keep a clean bed.
But I love clean, freshly laundered sheets, and they smell good, and they're soft, and you put them on the bed, And then if you got the luxury of having some electricity,
Yeah.
which we haven't had for a week and it's miserable. You get the air conditioner, so you get the cool sheets.
Oh my
And
gosh.
just like cuddle up under your comforter. Oh man.
You know, so many
it's the
times
best.
in my, I've always worked strange hours since me and Heather's been together, mill work, things like that. Come home, you're dead tired, you're a walking zombie. You get all cleaned up, and you go in there, and she's got a fresh linens everywhere, pillowcases, the bed turned back, letting the sheet cool down.
A little mint on your pillow.
Oh my gosh! I don't last 3 seconds, and then boom, I'm gone. I'm
I
asleep.
mean, let's be honest. Do you ever last more than 3 seconds?
Sometimes. Or what about back to back 3 seconds? Yeah, 3 plus 3
I
plus
just meant
3
you get to sleep pretty
is
quick.
9. No, I fall
Like,
straight out.
You're like, let's go watch a movie in bed, and like 2 seconds in, you're out.
Well, look, that right. I told you what that was. I was so fat in my belly that it would press down on my
It
lungs.
still happens.
And it does. It's not as bad.
Yeah,
I'm just getting fat again.
you got fat apnea.
I got fat apnea. It presses down. It pushes the oxygen out of my blood.
Well, I'm fat, but I still managed to stay awake and finish the movie.
Okay,
It's
let's.
a poor excuse. So December 1st through the 5th of 2015, 19-year-old Katelin had planned a trip back to Virginia to visit her family. Her sister Gabby had given birth to a baby boy, Landon, only 2 weeks earlier. Katelin, who adored children, was tickled pink to be an aunt, and she could not wait to meet her nephew and also just like be there for her little sister. Also, cosmetology school was set to start on December 7th, and Katelin required a copy of her high school diploma to finish registering for classes. So this was a trip with purpose. Not only was she going to visit family, meet her little nephew, but she was going to get this diploma so she could make sure everything was squared away for cosmetology school.
Okay.
And I have to say, when you register for classes or for school, they make you jump through all kinds of crazy hoops. Like, this is what I don't understand. If you have college transcripts and you have those sent, but then they still want a copy of your high school transcripts,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, obviously I finished something, right?
Yeah. Well, I finished high school.
Why you need my elementary school grades too?
Well, I've never understood some of that stuff, because this all should be in one package together anyway. And how did I get into college if I didn't finish high school?
I know, and then you have to spend all this money to have like transcripts sent
Which
from
is-
like 30 different schools.
But it's your records. It's your life.
Yeah, I know.
But you got to pay everybody $10.
Well, I've
15.
recently had this experience and have shelled out quite a few dollars to have transcripts sent from different schools. And I'm like, what the fuck?
We need your first day of first grade.
Yeah, and then we got to make sure you've got your TB, all these vaccines and TB tests and whatever to go to college too. And you're like, I'm just doing this online, bro. What am I going to infect my computer?
It's got a virus.
Anyway, during her time in Virginia, Katelin was able to visit family, meet with her nephew, and of course she instantly fell in love with little Landon, and she was able to hang out with some friends. On the Thursday, which would be December 3rd, Katelin was able to meet up with some old high school friends, and they were drinking and playing card games and just sort of kicking it, catching up, what's everybody been up to, and that's always a fun time.
It is.
I remember being young, about 400 years ago, and, coming home from college for like a Christmas break or a summer break, and you bump into old friends from high school and get together and kind of reminisce. It's like fun times. I like that you're just like, yep.
I didn't do any of that.
Okay, Dylan, so let's imagine you got to meet up with some of your old drug buddies.
Oh. T-bone
Yeah.
and razor
And biscuit.
and biscuit.
Yeah. Okay.
What are we going to do? Drugs?
Probably.
No, that wouldn't work for me. I don't do drugs anymore.
She spent the night at the friend's house and then caught a ride home later on Friday, sometime in the afternoon. I'm sure if they'd been drinking, she maybe slept in late, that kind of thing. Now, nothing seemed out of ordinary to her mom and sister at this time. And then on Saturday, December 5th, 2015, Katelin was scheduled to catch a flight to Arizona at 5:40 p.m. out of Reagan Airport in Arlington, Virginia. Since Lisa Sullivan had to work weekends mostly, she was an assistant manager at a store, she recruited James Branton, Katelin's stepfather, to drive Katelin 60 miles to the airport. Now, around 9 a.m., Lisa dropped Katelin off at Branton's house in Partlow, Virginia. Katelin was happy to see her former stepdad, even though their visit would be short. They had to quickly get to the airport because he was required to be at work that afternoon. So he was going to quick drop her off and then try to make it into work. And Katelin had actually agreed to be dropped off at the airport 4 hours early so that her stepdad could make it to work on time.
Oh, wow.
She was going to be dropped off around 1 p.m. and her flight wasn't until 5:40.
Gosh. I'd be drove crazy waiting around the airport.
Just sitting around an airport for 4 hours?
Yeah.
No, you would be drinking.
Well,
I've seen you at the airport for 30 minutes.
I guess it depends on
which is just time for you to dump down about 3 beers.
Well, okay, look, they let you walk around with them, which is nice because, it's a lot of places.
Is it nice still?
I think so. Almost like y'all are, all, I've never understood that. They're all like, very big on security and
But they'll let a bunch of drunk people run
having
around the
the
airport
proper,
fight each other.
proper attitude and, be careful, be safe, be vigilant. And then they just, but you can just buy all the alcohol you want.
Makes sense.
It doesn't make sense at all because alcohol is none of that stuff.
And I've seen people acting a damn fool at the airport that wasn't drunk. So,
right.
I mean, damn. Well, around 1:52 p.m., Lisa received a text from James stating, quote, "I dropped her off." Then a few minutes later, a text came in from Katelin indicating that she was at the airport, but her phone battery was dying and she would be out of contact for a while. Now, within a few minutes of sending that text to her mother, Katelin sent a message to Amber Rios saying, quote, "Something came up. I'm not coming back today. I'll let you know when I get a new flight. I won't be able to text for a bit." Now, unable to reach Katelin further, her fiance Amber reached out to Lisa asking about the issue with the flight. Lisa was confused. There was no other flight to Arizona on that day.
Oh.
Like Katelin had gotten like the flight.
The only flight.
Pretty much. So Lisa starts to panic a bit and she tries to reach her daughter. That's when Lisa calls other relatives to see if anybody has heard from Katelin. So of course her sister, her aunt, cousins, everybody's trying to reach Katelin. And her phone seems to just be going straight to voicemail. She's not picking up.
But so now everybody's getting worried very quickly because her phone was her lifeline that she always stayed in contact with them constantly, multiple times a day.
When Lisa reaches back out to James Branton, he says he dropped Katelin off at the Springfield Mall, that she had asked to go shopping for a few hours since her flight was later in the day. He claimed he had given her $20 to catch the metro, which she planned to take from the Springfield metro stop to Reagan Airport. The shopping mall is about 10 miles away from the airport. He said Katelin was dropped out by the JCPenney entrance. Lisa thought this was strange. She was unfamiliar with that mall, and she was pretty sure her daughter didn't know anything about the Springfield Mall either.
So, yeah, that would strike me as odd as I want to be dropped off at this place I'm not familiar with to spend hours and then catch mass transit to the airport. It's just, I don't know. It seems kind of weird.
Well, it doesn't seem strange to me. I've lived in that area. I've taken the metro. I've taken the metro to the airport. You see a lot of people traveling through the city, through this, using the subway with luggage from the Union Station. You've got terminals at or metro stop at Reagan. You can catch, the subway out almost to Dulles and then take a bus out to the Dulles airport. So, it's not so strange to see people traveling with their luggage and using the metro to get these places.
I guess I've never lived anywhere with mass transit and just the ease of it, the convenience of it. I guess it does open up a lot of options, honestly.
Well, Katelin had never taken the metro alone. Like, she hadn't been on the metro since she was a really small kid and didn't really know how to navigate the system. And it didn't make sense to Lisa, and it seemed really out of character for her daughter. She was like, there's no way Katelin could have figured out how to get from Springfield to the airport. I understand her feeling this way, but I'm also like, her daughter was really smart. And I'll be honest, the DC metro system is like the easiest metro system to navigate, like in the whole fucking country.
It's not complicated.
It's color coded. It's well mapped out. I mean, I don't think she would have had a problem, even if it was her first time traveling by metro, to be able to figure out how to get from one destination to the other.
Well, yeah.
Like, I would give her some credit. I think she would be able to navigate it.
Well, and it's only 10 miles off. I can't imagine it's that many, you know, like you're not doing a bunch of transfer and trains. It's probably just a straight shot, you know what I mean?
Probably, or you may be switching stations, like switching lines one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't seem so outrageous to me. But Katelin's family seems to think this would be impossible for her to be able to do.
Well, maybe they know her better than we do.
Well, around 7:15 p.m., Lisa receives another cryptic message from Katelin saying, quote, "I'm with a friend. I need some time alone."
No. Look, if I ever have a loved one fall off and I start getting these weird texts or emails talking about I just need some space, blah, this and that, I know it's not them. I'm not going to believe it's them ever.
Really?
Yeah. Even though you send me those once a week.
Well, I send you weird texts all the time.
Well,
like, would you love me if I was a worm?
Yeah, I got that text at 2:00 this morning.
Yeah.
And I answered back, said you would be the coolest little worm ever.
What would you do with me?
Well, I would love you, and I would never use you as bait.
Would you keep me in like an aquarium? Or?
No, I would let you be in my bed, but then I'd be afraid you'd dry out, so I'd have to live in a wet bed.
Oh, so thoughtful.
Well, I don't want you to dry out. Then you're going to be a dead worm.
Lisa was worried, obviously, and she replied, "Call me. I'm very worried about you. Please call me."
Yeah.
Now, it didn't make sense at all. Calls to Katelin were still going to voicemail. Lisa was like, why isn't she getting on the plane? What happened? And she noticed that the text form seemed to be kind of off. Like, Katelin didn't often send back-to-back messages. She would usually send just one lengthy, like even if it was a paragraph that included all the information.
Yeah.
The only time she ever sent like back-to-back short messages is if she misspelled something.
To correct
herself.
I always have to correct
I have to do
myself.
that too. I can't stand it.
Now, we've talked about this before. You have almost a fingerprint to your texting.
You do.
You do. The way you use capitalization, punctuation, what emojis you use. It's very specific to each person. And if you text with that person all the time, you can very quickly spot what would make you feel like it's not them.
Yeah, like anytime you get a text from me and the emoji's not the finger flipping you off, you would be concerned. Like,
Well,
what
why-
happened to my wife?
You're sweet to me. Why do you why do you try to have this persona that you're just mean to me all the time?
I am kind of mean to you all the time.
You're not.
But you like it.
You're not.
Whatever. Earlier, I was like, get your slow motherfucking ass over here and sit down.
Baby, it's been so long since I podcasted. You know, I was just looking
And you
for
were
stuff.
like, thanks for being so sweet and calling me a slow ass motherfucker or whatever.
And then Rufus
So
took
you're-
my blanket.
You're welcome. I know I am good to you. I made you a beautiful meal last night.
It's
And
beautiful.
you barely ate it.
I ate all I could.
And you were just like,
Well, I just had woke up. I had to go to work.
we'll get up in time to eat my delicious food.
I should have got up sooner. It sucked.
I mean, I really spent like a lot of time making this meal for you.
Well, honey, I ate a lot of it.
So yeah.
You got was a lot of protein on
So at
one
the
bowl.
end of the day, you're the one that's cruel,
Oh, God.
and I'm underappreciated. That's why I tell you you're a slow ass motherfucker. Okay, now, oh, you would love me if I was a worm. I love
would.
you.
See, yeah, good save.
Now then, Amber Rios received a Facebook message from Katelin stating, "I can't come back. I cheated on you."
What?
Now, they had been communicating by text message. So to get this Facebook message, I mean, Amber was startled and really not sure what's going on. She and Katelin, I mean, being a couple, they didn't have arguments. They weren't having any problems.
Yeah, they weren't.
And
yeah.
also, you know, just kind of being told this big thing, like, hey, I cheated on you, and doing it by electronic means. I mean, to me, that's like a conversation maybe you should have in person.
Or at least on the phone.
Yeah. Right? But according to Amber, everything was great. And Katelin had been looking forward to starting school. I mean, it just didn't make sense.
No, this is adding up to we have some kind of a problem here. Something's wrong. Something's going on.
Lisa, Gabby, and Pam continued to call Katelin's cell phone for the next 24 hours. But again, it would just go straight to voicemail as if it was turned off. Katelin's family was also surprised by that message to Amber. She had not indicated to anyone that there had been any problems in their relationship with Amber. When asked about staying with a friend, James said it was never mentioned, that Katelin never said, I'm going to go stay with a friend.
Or I'm going to do all this other stuff besides get on the airplane.
He consistently told the same story, that she had asked to be dropped off at the Springfield Mall. On Monday, December 5th of 2015, Lisa went to the Spotsylvania Police Department to file a missing persons report. While she was at the department, news came out that Virginia Department of Transportation workers had recovered a blue suitcase belonging to Katelin from a drainage ditch near the Mott's Run Reservoir, less than 5 miles from the property owned by James Branton.
Oh. How did that get there?
The contents of the luggage was baffling. Katelin's airline ticket, her wallet, which included her ID, cash, various debit and credit cards were inside. There was a phone charger, a toothbrush, and her glasses, but no clothing and no sign of her high school diploma.
Okay.
Authorities theorized the luggage had been thrown from a moving vehicle because it was damaged. There was a wheel broken off, and it was kind of beat up, the suitcase, and also was partially unzipped, which like maybe it had happened if someone had thrown it out.
Right. And
Yeah.
it hit the ground and rolled and bounced and all that mess.
Detective Rob Marshall was assigned to the case. He knew it was important to learn everything he could about Katelin because he said he needed to know, quote, who he was fighting for. Like anytime he had a missing persons case, he wanted to know this person's history, a little bit about them. He said it helped him, just kind of get a sense of who they were. So then he really kind of figured out what he needed to do to try to get out there and look for this person.
And that sounds like a really good approach. And also as you do get information or find out about things, you might have an idea how that person may react to that thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Or what they might do in that situation.
Or you kind of get a sense of like, they might do this, but they probably wouldn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or it also can motivate you to solve the case because it kind of gives you something to fight for.
Right. So with the discovery of the suitcase, Katelin's family had to face their deepest fears. Was she alive? Was she dead? Would they ever see her again? Lisa told the show Disappeared in 2017, quote, we didn't know what to think. But that's when those bad thoughts start flooding in. Up until this point, they had been optimistic about the situation.
That something's going on with her.
She's having some kind of issue or whatever. But with the discovery of the suitcase, your mind wanders to dark places.
If you're traveling, and I don't know how dependent she was on her glasses, but I mean to willingly toss any of your stuff, let alone your wallet, your glasses, your phone charger, which, if you have a phone, that's a big deal. Use your phone all the time. No, nothing about that suitcase being found in a drainage ditch would make me feel good.
Aunt Pam, her name is Pam Rogowski. That's Katelin's aunt, She said, quote, that's when it went from maybe she's just being a dumb teenager to maybe we won't ever see her again. Law enforcement can be slow to react when there's adult missing persons cases. And at times it's because, adults have the right to disappear and live their lives the way they choose. However, Detective Marshall, after learning more about Katelin, he didn't feel that she had simply just left or that she was trying to hide or disappear like herself. He was looking at the case as kind of a suspicious circumstance. Detective Marshall sought James Branton for a statement. Branton repeated the same story that Katelin had asked to be dropped off at Springfield Mall with plans to take the metro to the airport. Security footage was requested from the Springfield Mall, the metro station, and Reagan Airport JCPenney had 2 cameras in view of the store's entrance where James said he had dropped Katelin off, and he was driving a Jeep, and this would have been around 1 p.m. But the footage showed no sign of Katelin or the Jeep. There was no footage of her at the Springfield metro station or at the airport. No one at the airport when they spoke to, ticket staff. No one had seen her. No sign of her.
Yeah, and see, a place like an airport has a fairly controlled exits and entrances. It's not like you kind of sneak it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somebody's going to see you. You would think.
And it was still an active ticket, like she hadn't tried to cash it in or trade it for another flight or anything like that. It was confirmed that Lisa Sullivan had worked from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the day her daughter vanished. Amber Rios was confirmed to be in Arizona. Investigators discovered that James Branton, who had told Lisa he was working that afternoon, had actually called into work.
Uh-oh.
He had not shown up to work. He had no valid reasoning to offer up why he had lied to Lisa. When she confronted him, James said very little, like he wouldn't really give her an answer.
Damn.
Initially, Detective Marshall found James to be cooperative with the investigation. He answered their questions. He would take their calls. The timeline of the December 5th, 2015 day could not really be confirmed by anyone other than James Branton. There were no other witnesses to say, yes, he dropped her off at the mall, or, what he was doing, what she was doing during that day. They would have been alone together for that time period. When Detective Marshall asked him to take a polygraph exam, just so they could kind of move past him as a person of interest, he agreed. They scheduled the exam for 10:30 a.m. on December 29th. Now, on the second day of Katelin's disappearance, the unthinkable happened. A few miles from where Katelin's luggage was discovered, the body of a female was located. The deceased victim appeared to be around 20 years old with blonde hair and tattoos, a description matching Katelin Akens. Now, around 11 p.m., a resident in the 10,300 block of Piney Branch Road reported a vehicle at the end of his driveway that he didn't recognize. It was a 2010 Kia Rio. The female driver appeared to be unresponsive inside the car behind the wheel. The victim had severe trauma to the upper body, and there was a lot of blood at the scene. Now, Katelin's family anxiously awaited the identification. Because, come on, how often do you have a missing person and then find a body 2 days later that almost matches your child's description to a T?
Well, yeah. So that's just terrible.
Big coincidence, right? Soon, it was revealed that the victim was 21-year-old Heather Ciccone. She worked at a Red Robin restaurant in Cosner's Corner. So, not Katelin.
Oh, wow. But it's somebody else's daughter. It's just...
No, absolutely, Dylan.
In one breath, you're like, wow, I'm glad that wasn't my loved one. But then you're like, wow, but it is somebody else's.
Well, no,
family.
Absolutely. That's why we're going to take a minute to talk about Heather's situation. So at the time, social media postings suggested that Heather was having some kind of issue with another young woman over a man. The woman had been making threats and paying unwanted visits to Heather's home. On December 2nd, on a Facebook post, Heather's sister wrote that she needed to file harassment and stalking charges. Yet law enforcement had to take a serious look at the murder because the two incidents involving these two young women of the same age, similar appearances, it was just such a strange coincidence. They were wondering, could there be an active predator? Could we be dealing with like a serial killer?
Oh, wow.
Which is something that law enforcement never wants to have to address, right? Because we know serial killers are pretty hard to track down.
Yeah.
While investigating Heather's murder, law enforcement tried to establish connections between Katelin's disappearance and Heather. While trying to solve both crimes, they came up empty-handed. They could find no links between Heather and Katelin, so they were pretty quickly able to determine that Heather's murder had nothing to do with Katelin's disappearance. Now, eventually, Jonathan Vejerano would be found guilty of slaying Heather Ciccone and would receive life in prison. Joshua Williams was also given a 38-year sentence for his involvement. The case related to gangs, drugs, and jealousy. So Heather had been involved in a dispute with a woman named Danielle Long, who shared a baby with Joshua Williams. And he was a member of the G-Shine Bloods gang.
Okay.
That's one of them G-Shines down there. Be careful.
Just the whole idea of gangs is something else. And I don't know.
Look, you better watch it.
The G-Shine's going to show up at my door? I ain't scared.
No, it's silly. It really is silly.
I think it's
The
ridiculous.
gang bullshit is silly. Even the scary gangs, it's just ridiculous. The things they fight
Well, I just want to be like, grow up.
and kill each
This
other.
is your like secret club. You got a clubhouse. Do you have
Look,
a password to get in?
yeah.
I mean, it's just, what are you, the little rascals?
You want to fight somebody because they wear a green
The
shirt?
little
I mean,
rascals of crime? I mean, I don't know. I just think it's lame.
if you kill my friend, I'm gonna come by and kill one of your friends, and we're just gonna keep killing each other till we don't have
Eye
any
for
friends.
an eye, motherfucker.
It's stupid.
Until we all did.
It really is a bunch of low intelligence.
It seems
bullshit.
very like a very simplistic, dumbass thing to do. So Heather had been involved romantically with Williams at the same time as Long. And so you got a mad baby mama. And this is what I never understand is why these women want to fight with each other over some dusty dude.
Yeah. Hanging
When-
out the passenger side of his best friend's
Some
ride,
sc-
trying to holler at me.
Some scrub. Exactly. You know, instead of just being pissed off at him.
Yeah,
for being
he's the
He's
philanderer.
the piece of shit.
I've never understood the people that want to fight the other people that the person's cheating with.
I don't know. It's insane to me. But Long had learned of this affair and began harassing Heather because, you know, when you start harassing the other woman, that really works wonders for the situation.
If he's not going and cheating with her, he's going to cheat with someone else because you keep going fighting everybody else but him.
It's fucking stupid. This is also low intelligence behavior.
It is. It honestly is.
She posted on social media that Heather had given Josh an STD and also threatened to beat her ass. In the meantime, Heather was trying to buy a half pound of marijuana for a friend. She had indicated that someone she was cool with could get drugs for them. On the night that she was sort of facilitating this drug buy, that's when Heather was murdered. Cell phone information showed that she was responding with a burner cell phone.
Yeah, I got herpes and I got your man too, bitch.
I gave him the claps and then I clapped these cheeks.
Yeah, now you got my clap.
Oh.
Because they told us in health class, when you sleep with that person, you sleep with every person they've ever slept with.
It's true.
Which that scared me so much back.
It did
when
me too.
I was like, what?
Ew.
Just the thought alone.
You know, as I've gotten older, and especially like in the last year or something, maybe it's just because I'm like a neurotic person and have mental issues, but just the idea of sex is it grosses me out a little bit. Like, grosses me out way more than it used to.
Just
Back
out,
when I was a slut.
period? Or you mean like sex with different people?
Just in general, because it's like, I just think, I don't know.
You were a slut.
I don't want people to touch my body.
Yeah.
I don't want to be naked in front of anybody.
I just want to be naked in front of you.
I don't want to
baby.
exchange fluids with anybody. I just think people are gross and disgusting.
You don't want to smell them.
No, that was no.
Wow.
I don't want to smell them and their weirdness. What if they don't shout? I don't know. Like I said, it's probably just my own like weird mental illness and paranoia and like germ phobia.
Yeah.
But just ew,
Filthy.
gross. Yeah. I don't want to. I just want to be celibate.
You want to be celibate and freshly
I
just
just want to hang out with my
see
dog.
some snacks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Be sexless and hang out with my dog.
Baby.
What? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that 3 seconds. Okay,
That's right.
so yeah, baby.
You best 3 seconds you ever had.
Yeah, I guess I'll smell you later.
Would you smell me?
You're so gross. See, this is why I have a weird because
Why?
you've made me so repulsed.
Would you just take a big sniff?
Why do your balls smell like Old Spice?
They don't. Trust me.
Oh God, Stetson.
You wish they smell like Old Spice.
Stetson.
They smell like balls, Heather. Damn.
God. You smelling them or something?
I scratch and sniff like the strawberry shortcake stickers.
Man, I used to have some of those.
Who
stickers.
didn't?
Okay, so Verajano, I guess that's how you say his name. He told people, quote, "The bitch got what she deserved." And he dared folks to bring her name up in front of him. Now, investigators were finally able to piece together that Verajano and Williams were responsible for the murder of Heather Saccone. Verajano had agreed to kill Heather as an initiation into the G-Shine blood gang. So that's a little bit about what happened to Heather.
See, Heather's dead for some of the dumbest reasons I've ever heard of. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Here's this young girl
It's
tied up with these people, running around
nonsense.
trying to act tough, and at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of dumb shit, and she's killed over that.
I'm going to beat you up because you slept with my baby daddy. It's your fault that he keeps putting his dick in everybody and you. I mean,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
I don't know.
5 days after Katelin's disappearance, search and rescue teams combed the banks of the Rappahannock River near where the luggage had been found, hoping to find some clothing items or her diploma, just some sign of Heather in that area, but the search was fruitless. They then conducted a 30-mile aerial search by helicopter, and they used some sort of like heat sensor technology, hoping that maybe they could locate her, like if she were somewhere in that area, hurt,
Well, yeah, it
injured.
sounds like infrared.
That's not what they called it, but yeah.
Is it? It's like they use predator vision.
Sure.
It's predator vision.
That's what it is. Predator vision. Now, they went out as far as Port Royal, which is a pretty good distance from Spotsylvania County. But this search turned up nothing. Detective Marshall turned to Katelin's friends who'd spent time with her on Thursday. A couple had attended the get-together with Katelin and a few others. One of the friends admitted that he and his girlfriend had been intimate with Katelin.
Oh.
And as a couple, they had never done anything like that before. So I guess they had a three-way.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know, because just everything grosses me out right now.
But, dude, like... You asked me the other night about a three-way. No, you asked me, like, what do you do? Who does what? And I was like, what? Do you think there's like an itinerary, like a mapped-out plan of this evening's events? And you said you needed a plan.
Well, I need to know. I need to know what to expect.
You need to know if you need to be on the left or right, or you need to step over here, or do you need to reach down there? Or...
I need some direction. Look, I like plans. I like to know ahead of time what's going on.
Okay.
Just this improvisation.
It's not going to work.
No. What do you do?
I don't know.
What am I supposed to do with my hands? What do I do with my feet?
What, your feet?
I'm just saying. What am I supposed to do with my right leg? Like, I don't know. And you weren't very helpful, so thanks a lot.
You know I could never come up with that much plans. For your whole body like that?
Well, just, I don't know, in
like,
general.
where does your elbow go?
It's like a kind of a weird game of Twister.
Yeah.
But with your, your genitals.
Yeah.
And your vagina. And what am I supposed to do?
I'm like, spin again.
I just don't. I don't.
Red knee.
Left titty, green.
How does that go? I've never even
It's
played
like right
Twister.
foot red. What? Oh my God, I love Twister.
I can't play
It's a game that ties you up in knots.
Twister.
It's super
God,
fun.
Do you have stock in Twister? Damn, you're still advertising for him?
I would play Twister right now.
You would?
Just not with my labia. So a friend admitted that they had been intimate with Katelin after drinking, and later they kind of all shared regretting this hookup had happened. The following morning, Katelin agreed to go with this guy to the dog park to walk his dog, and just kind of maybe sort through what had happened. And he felt a lot of regret. She felt remorse over her involvement. And he described Katelin as being despondent and just not saying much. The hookup was weighing on her pretty heavily, he said. So he drove Katelin home in the late afternoon, but she didn't tell her sister or mother about the incident. Law enforcement felt that kind of explained maybe that message to Amber.
About I can't come back because I cheated on you?
Yes.
Oh.
Digging through Katelin's social media, investigators found a second revealing message that she had sent to a friend that stated, quote, "I don't want to be here. I don't want to be there." Meaning like she didn't want to be in Virginia, but she also didn't want to go back to Arizona. Law enforcement began a stakeout, kind of surveilling like her friends and family's homes to see if they could find Katelin maybe hiding out somewhere. Like maybe she was just at a friend's house.
So they think possibly, maybe, this is one instance when the person is alive, but they're just, for whatever reason, ashamed or, trying to figure some things out.
Right.
She just doesn't want to go home. And
Well,
she
they wanted
doesn't
to
want
explore that possibility.
Okay.
When cell phone records landed on Detective Marshall's desk, he was surprised to learn that Katelin's phone had been nowhere near the Springfield Mall or Reagan Airport when she had sent those messages to her mother and Amber. As a matter of fact, Katelin's phone pinged a cell phone tower in Spotsylvania County, about 5 miles from where that luggage was located.
Wow, which is near James's house, right?
Law enforcement was confident that Katelin Akens had never actually left Fredericksburg, Virginia that day. Then, just before James was scheduled to take that polygraph exam, he contacted Detective Marshall to say his lawyer advised him against it. He felt he was being treated as a suspect and didn't want to further cooperate upon advice of his attorney. Around this time, law enforcement were able to obtain a search warrant to check James Branton's 10-acre property in Partlow, Virginia. Among his personal property, they confiscated electronics, computers, cell phones, and some guns. A forensic team scoured his home, the outbuilding, his vehicles, and they also went out to these swampy area behind his house and conducted a search. During the search, no forensic evidence was discovered. No crime had been committed in the house or the car that they could tell. There was just no shred of evidence. Law enforcement didn't have a lot of options. They couldn't arrest James Branton even if his behavior was suspicious. Police were able to search a property near Saddle Court where his mother was a tenant. A third residence located on Salem Drive in Fredericksburg had been owned by James's father, Jimmy Branton. Since August 27th of 2015, that property had been vacant because James's father had passed away. And the house had been for rent. But on December 4th, the day before Katelin's disappearance, the listing was removed and it was never relisted as a rental.
Oh, that's weird.
On July 7th of 2016, James Branton was gifted the deed via his late father's will. Police have not yet been able to search that property or obtain a search warrant to check that property. Cell phone records also show that James Branton never left the area on the day Katelin went missing. His cell phone pinged towers around Partlow where he lived, and this was 75 miles or so away from the airport. He had never taken Katelin to Springfield Mall or to the airport despite texting Lisa Sullivan that she had been dropped off. When Lisa Sullivan received a final text from Katelin saying she was staying with a friend, that's when Katelin's phone pinged a cell phone tower in Stafford, Virginia, which is about 15 miles away from where her luggage was found. Lisa Sullivan found it strange that after Katelin went missing, every relative had attempted to contact her except for James Branton. He had made no efforts to reach out to his missing stepdaughter. Though authorities suspect foul play in Katelin's case, they have no evidence to make an arrest. In 2021, the Aware Foundation erected a billboard with Katelin's information along State Route 206 where it meets Route 301. Now, it was purposefully placed along this route, Dylan, because that's how James Branton commutes to work at the Dahlgren Naval Base.
So you can see it every day.
The foundation hoped the billboard might shame Branton into coming forward with information.
I mean, what a betrayal as you're trying to figure this out. And you start thinking that this is maybe the person that did something to her. Someone who's been around her, someone who you love and care for, and that you brought into your daughter's life. I mean, that's freaking horrible.
Well, the family definitely believes that James knows something more, but is refusing to cooperate. Now, Gabby has a theory that maybe her sister met up with someone online because there was an encrypted messaging app on Katelin's phone, and those messages were not able to be accessed by law enforcement. Gabby thinks her sister had maybe been communicating with someone and had agreed to meet up with them. and maybe it was just the wrong person.
Oh, okay.
But Lisa thinks James Branton knows something and is refusing to cooperate. Now, she's not directly saying he murdered Katelin, but she thinks maybe he knows where Katelin went and that he's trying to, maybe keep
he promised her he wouldn't tell kind of thing.
Keep a secret or something like that, yeah.
But there's a lot of inconsistencies in his story that are very disturbing in my book.
Well, yeah.
Well, when you say you're going to work, but you didn't, right? Why are you lying to me about that? And then her phone and never showing up where you claimed you dropped her off at, but it's all around and near your house, including where her luggage is found thrown out the window. I mean, it's just, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I have a theory, but of course it's just a theory because there's no proof of it. It's just my opinion.
Okay.
I don't know, just looking at him, I get a weird vibe. Like maybe he might have tried, like he kind of gives me a creepy vibe.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he tried to make a move on her or something. And maybe she rejected him and he killed her.
Or even if it wasn't a move, he was attracted to her. You know what I'm saying? And he just decided to act on it. You know what I mean?
I don't know why I get that impression. Like that was my first thought with this. But again, I have no proof. That's just my disturbed mind, I guess.
She doesn't sound like the type of person to just disappear. She doesn't. I mean, I don't know what that person, actually looks like. Someone who would do that. And I don't know.
I would do that.
What's in her mind. But I mean, a young person, you got all these things going on in life. You're, in very strong contact with your family. You enjoy being a part of your family, even when you live a long distance away. And just nothing, just to stop, it doesn't add up. And I'm afraid that
she met foul play. That's what I think
That's what I think.
Now, Caitlin's family, they remain vigilant. They post on social media, and they try to keep her case alive, keep it active. The family hired a private investigator to look into her disappearance. Couldn't really find any information like what the private investigator has uncovered.
That's because it's private.
Spotsylvania Crime Solvers is offering a $2,500 reward for any information that leads to the discovery of Katelin Akens. Lisa Sullivan told the TV show Disappeared, "I just need to know where my daughter's at."
Yeah.
Which I think most parents would feel that way.
And that's the closure that people seek in situations like this.
It's a very strange story.
She just
it's
disappeared.
It's such a mystery. I mean, it's like you don't want to jump to conclusions and think the stepdad did something to her, right? I mean, there's someone who's been involved in her life, who helped raise her. She trusted this person. But the stories just don't align with the facts.
No, and it could be innocent things that look bad. Maybe he didn't always go to work when his woman, Caitlin's mother, thought he was.
Well, they were divorced, hon. So, I mean, he didn't really have any reason to, tell her otherwise.
Well, then why is he lying to her?
Well, that's the question, dude.
Damn it, dude.
Oh, so you're saying it's only okay to lie to your spouse?
No, I'm not saying it's okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, for instance, refusing the polygraph. That is not in itself incriminating in my mind or if you do think indeed you're innocent, but you do think that you're starting to be viewed.
Wouldn't you want to clear your name?
Yeah, but I mean, especially if he did seek counsel or talk to a lawyer, they're going to tell you don't do it. They're going to tell you to stop cooperating. They're just from their lawyer mindset. They're going to tell you to, unless they have evidence against you, don't offer anything up because it can actually, make it worse for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We've seen chatty Cathys getting there talking to cops before and talked themselves into a corner when in reality they were not, the killer or anything like that. So I don't know.
But there's just so many questions. Like, why did he lie? Why did he say he was in a place where he totally wasn't? And if he did do something to her, I think, what are you, stupid, bud? Like, you're going to throw the suitcase? Like, here, let me just throw the suitcase in my front yard.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically throwing it in your backyard. Like, wouldn't it have made more sense to drive to that area and dispose of the suitcase up near Springfield or
Ooh, you
the
think
airport?
like a criminal?
Well, I'm just saying, if you were gonna
Well,
stage something like that, I mean, wouldn't you just be a little smarter about it?
and what's the odds that you have this young person who uses her phone all the time being dropped off at a mall and she doesn't contact anyone? There's no activity from her phone at the mall. That's very unlikely to me.
Yeah, or that she's going to be dropped off at the mall and then immediately text them at the airport. I mean, he obviously lied.
I think he did something. I think he did something to her.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I honestly could, because it just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. He could have also dropped her off at the mall and she came to foul play, at someone else's hand, but why is he being so shifty? Why is he, being inconsistent?
Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
I think most people out there are convinced James Brenton was involved in her disappearance.
It's so sad.
It's really sad. She left behind a family that they were very close and truly cared about her. And then on top of it, you got to think about her fiance in Arizona.
Yeah.
Says good. I mean, I can imagine like putting you on a plane, you leaving, like everything's normal, and then I just never see you again. And have no idea what happened to you.
I can't imagine that.
It's like heartbreaking.
No one would ever think that would happen.
Very strange.
My gosh.
Well, hopefully they will get some answers in this case. And like I said, her family is, they definitely are pretty active in trying to keep her information out there.
Okay, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome, Dylan.
Glad to be back on the ones and twos, talking to our listeners. Yeah. And before I go, we had some shout outs early on. Thank you for the new Patreon supporters and appreciate the donations. Helps tremendously. And but I got to give a big shout out to Renee, our new friend. This from the Discord fam. She's actually moved in next to us.
Yeah, one of our patrons.
Yeah, one of our patrons.
I feel like one day she's gonna write an article that's like, I moved in next door to podcasters and this is what happened.
This is the real story.
And there's gonna be some insane story about like Heather was eating tater tots in her living room naked or something. I don't know.
No, but welcome to the neighborhood, Renee. We're sorry that it's storm torn, but we swear it's pretty and quiet when it gets cleaned up.
Most of the time.
Most of the time.
When there's not constant chainsaws and wood chippers.
Yeah. But, and again, our hearts go out to everyone affected by Helene. And my God, there's another storm. Milton looks like he's going to slam into Florida. So hope everyone stays safe as they can.
Stay safe. Stay vigilant.
Yeah. And
keep dry.
Hurricane season sucks.
Yeah, this really fucking blows, dude. Natural disasters are some shit.
They need to stop.
Just cut it out.
Just quit.
Get
with the fires and such.
Somewhere.
Yeah, get on, nature. Get
on down the road. I'm going to get out there with my broom and shoo you away.
Get back in your scuttle hole, nature.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Until next time, right?
Yeah. Stay all the things.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.